you're visiting us for the first time, you're especially welcome. Michelle, our greeter at the front door, will help you there if you have any questions. If you have little ones, our greeters can show you the way to the nursery, which is available during the service for children 6 and younger. Our services are filmed and posted on YouTube, so if you do not want to be on camera, please sit in the perfume-free zone here or the zone closest to the library back here. And you can feel free to move during the prelude if you need to. Please silence your cell phones. And today's opening hymn is number 1028 in the thinner teal hymnal. Please rise in spirit and body as you are comfortable and join us, please.
Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Emily Catt. I'm today's service leader. My pronouns are she and her. As a scholar and a fan of the ancient art of story, I'm so excited about today's service. And I'm so grateful that we're all here on this very chilly morning experiencing this timeless meaning making together. If you're with us on the internet, or whether you're sitting here in the chairs around me, we are one community, united in our commitment to each other and our commitment to live out our principles in the world. So you're welcome here, all of who you are. Our commitment to each other is shown in many ways. One of them is through our leaders encouraging new speakers. This started with a Saturday workshop in 2022, where attendees molded their fledgling ideas, and that resulted in at least 3 awesome sermons. One about guilt and growing up Catholic, one about the quest for the Holy Grail, and one about worth, dignity, and potty training of a dog. This past fall, Reverend Tiffany led another class called Preaching a Story. This group was 6 individuals who had chosen a story and wanted to speak at the pulpit, yet wanted guidance on how to craft that story and that sermon. So it was a gentle, collaborative class in which all of them helped each other find the struggle and the grace in their chosen stories. And today, we get the inaugural pleasure of hearing the first alumni of that fall preaching a story class with Alesha Chaffin's sermon on what does it mean to be Promethean. You may know Alesha as the chair of our church's music committee and a regular performer. Some of you may know them as Dot's parent, but they are also someone with diverse interests, enthusiastic about philosophy, history, and political activism. Yes. Come together again. Gather in love. Light the fire of hope. Build the foundation. Commit together again. Gather in truth. Light the fire of freedom. Build the entryways. Continue together again. Gather in community. Light the fire of the future. Build the shelter. Later, Alesha will share the Greek myth featuring a god named Prometheus stealing fire for us humans. Many cultures around the world have a story of how people first obtained light or fire or sun. And today we invite kids, the young at heart, their parents, to join us up here for our Time for All Ages. We're going to hear the Muskogee Creek people's story about how Grandmother Spider stole the sun. This is also a time when kids can put in money for the kids' collection plate. The children voted on what cause they would like to support, and they voted to give money to alleviate hunger in the Tri-Cities.
Good morning. Lovely to see a delightful group of warm kids on a chilly morning. The way this story begins. When the earth was first made, there was no light. It was very hard for the animals and the people in darkness all the time. Whoa. Finally, the animals, mind you, not the people, the animals decided to do something about it. I've heard there's something called the sun, said the bear. It's kept on the other side of the world, and the people over there will not share it. Perhaps we can steal a part of it. All the animals agreed that it was a good idea, but who would be the one to go steal the sun? Big job. Fox was first to try. He sneaked to the place where the sun was kept. He waited until no one was looking. Then he grabbed a piece of it in his mouth and he ran. But the sun was so hot it burned his mouth and he dropped it. To this day, if you notice closely, all foxes have black mouths because the fox burned his carrying the sun. Possum tried next. In those days, Possum had a very broad, bushy tail. She crept to the place where the sun was kept, broke off a piece and hid it in her tail. And then she began to run, bringing the sun back to the animals and the people. But the sun was so hot it burned off all the hair from her tail and she lost hold of it. To this day, all possums have bare tails because the sun burned away the hair of that first possum's tail. Then Grandmother Spider tried. Spiders had a lot of wisdom in these old stories. Instead of trying to hold the sun herself, she wove a bag out of her webbing. She put the piece of the sun into her bag, and she carried it back with her. Now the question was, where to put the sun? Grandmother Spider told them, the sun should be really high up in the sky, then everyone will be able to see it and benefit from the light. She wanted to share with everyone. All the animals agreed that was a perfectly good idea, but none of them could reach up high enough. Even if they carried to the top of the tallest tree, that would not be high enough for everyone on the earth to see the sun. Then they decided to have one of the birds carry the sun up to the top of the sky. Everyone knew Buzzard could fly the highest, so he was chosen. Buzzard placed the sun on top of his head where the feathers were the thickest, for the sun was still very hot, even inside grandmother's spider bags. He began to fly up and up and up towards the top of the sky. As he flew, the sun grew hotter. Up and up he went, higher and higher, and the sun grew hotter and hotter still. Now the sun was burning through grandmother spider's bag, but the buzzard still kept flying up toward the top of the sky. Up and up he went, and the sun grew hotter still. Now it was burning away the feathers on top of his head, but he continued on. Now all his feathers were gone, but he flew higher. Now it was turning the bare skin of his head all red, but he continued to fly. He flew until he reached the top of the sky, and there he placed the sun where it could give light to everyone. Because he carried the sun to the top of the sky, Buzzard was honored by all the birds and the animals. Though his head is naked and ugly, because it was burned by carrying the sun, he is still the highest flyer of all, and he can be seen circling the sun to this day. After you leave church, go check. There may be a buzzard circling. And because grandmother spider brought the sun in her bag of webbing, at times the sun makes rays across the sky that are shaped like the rays of grandmother spider's web. And it reminds everyone of what grandmother spider did for all the animals and the people. Good story, isn't it? Now we know a little bit more about foxes and possums and buzzards' funny looking heads. Thank you for sitting together and joining me. Back to your seats now.
There's a dark and a troubled side of life. There's a bright and a sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strife, the sunny side you also may view. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. Brighten all the way. We'll keep on the sunny side of life. Oh, the storm and the fury broke today, crushing hopes that we cherish so dear. Clouds and storms will in time pass away. The sun again will shine bright and clear. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way. We'll keep on the sunny side of life. Sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strife, the sunny side you also may view. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way. If we keep on the sunny side of life. Everybody now. Sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way. Keep
Come to this community just as you are, all that you are. Your joys and your concerns are welcome here. We share our moments of joys and sorrows together through using these candle cards. If you are here with us in person, or by emailing Reverend Tiffany at minister@hvuuc.org, but include the words candle card in the subject line. Please make sure to indicate whether or not you would like the card read aloud in the service, because it is broadcast publicly on YouTube. We do have one from Liz to please keep my family in your thoughts, especially my mom, whose father passed away early this week. A card of joyful gratitude for the many helpers who came in last Saturday to gussy up our sanctuary with this beautiful greenery and festiveness. The Kramers, Sarah, Bradley, Sue, Gable, Rosemary, James, Liz, Dawn, Wanda, Judy, Beth, Linda, and Karen. This gratitude is equally joyful for all those who made the beautiful Festivals of Light service happen. There are too many to list by name, but you know, hopefully, that you are appreciated. A card of caring for all those who face grief and loss during this season of festivals, gatherings, jolliness. It can be a less than jolly time for many. So save space for yourself, for friends who may not be okay. If you do wish to light your own silent candle, this is our time for candle lighting. Please approach the side of the table that is closest to you, and our candle keepers will assist you. Please light, if you can, all the candles to the back first, so that no one is reaching over an open flame. And if you wish for us to light a candle for you, please just raise your hand until I acknowledge you, and I can ensure that a candle is lit to match your intentions. Our community is so much larger than those that are here in the building this morning, so we are going to light a first candle to hold space for those who are not physically present with us, but who are ever in our hearts. And we light a final candle for all those and all that remains unspoken in our hearts and minds.
To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It's based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now, as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is in itself a marvelous victory.
It is better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. Better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. It is better to burn out than fade away. Phrases like these have stuck with me all my life, growing up in a progressive family and a progressive community. Another quote with the same sort of spirit caught my attention just a few years ago, and it led me to investigate a story that I'd not really read enough about earlier in my life. I was reading a thesis on philosophy by Karl Marx, and he mentioned towards the beginning, Prometheus is the most eminent saint and martyr in the philosophical calendar. So, having only a shallow and vague understanding of Greek mythology, I decided I needed to dig in and really find out, what does it mean to be Promethean? In the Greek mythology, Prometheus is the original creator of humanity. It is for this reason that he loved humanity infinitely and will do anything and everything to protect his creations. He is committed to the best interest of mortal men no matter what. He bestowed humans with wisdom, intuition, and creativity. And all these things are made possible by giving humans the knowledge to create fire. Fire enables the ability to cook food, forge tools, see at night, keep predators away. From this sort of power sprung the advent of other things like language, agriculture, industrial production, art, science, and technology, etc. This made humans prosper and flourish, and arguably become a collective force on par with the gods. Part of this creation myth says that in order to keep mankind humble, Zeus demanded a ritual offering from them, and Prometheus insisted that they should be allowed to give him two choices. Whatever Zeus chooses, that would be the traditional offering from then on. So he was offered, on one side, a serving of the finest cuts of meat and freshest fruits and vegetables, but it was hidden under a coating of waste and slop. On the other side, a pile of inedible bones and sinew, but disguised with glistening oils and seasonings. Zeus predictably fell for this trick, and he chose the trash heap designed to look like an appetizing meal. And thus humanity was forever allowed to keep their best foods and only required to sacrifice garbage to the gods. Being a god of very little temper or patience, Zeus then took away man's access to fire out of spite. That left humanity again cold, hungry, and surrounded by darkness. But Prometheus, never lacking in dedication to his people, decided to commit a bold crime to save them. He cunningly broke into the smithing workshop of Hephaestus and stole fire from the gods. He then smuggled it out of Mount Olympus in a fennel stalk and restored its warmth and glow to the mortal world on earth. Of course, this made Zeus furious. And as I alluded before, he is not a god known for understanding or compassion. But we really need to take a second here to examine the greater trait of Prometheus, knowing the future. His name translates literally to foresight or forethought. His main power is predicting the likelihood of how events will play out and what fates will unravel throughout time. Therefore, he had to have known that committing a crime against the God of all gods would come with dire consequences. He had to have known that ensuring his beloved children have access to fire guaranteed that he would suffer for their benefit. He had to have known that eternal punishment was coming to him for his ceaseless love, but he did it anyway because it was the right thing to do. So indeed, Zeus had Prometheus chained to a cliffside in the Caucasus Mountains, and every day sent an eagle to viciously tear out his liver. Every night, his liver would grow back so that the next morning the process could be repeated forever and ever ad nauseum. And thus he was doomed to an undying torture. Occasionally other gods like Oceanus and Hermes came along and implored Prometheus to repent, swear allegiance to Zeus, and you'll be freed from this punishment. But he never bent and he never broke. He stayed at all times aligned with the masses of mortal humanity and in constant defiance of tyrannical ruling gods. A chorus of ocean nymphs even pointed out to Prometheus that mankind has not seemed to notice his sacrifice or care about his fate. There were statues of Zeus, none of Prometheus. There were temples for Zeus, but none for Prometheus. There were songs and poems and paintings and stories about most of the Olympian gods, but none about Prometheus. And yet he remained steadfast in his conviction that he did what he had to do, not for recognition, and even in spite of the certainty of his severe discipline. I strive to seek out both the pros and cons in any story, the good and the bad, the virtue and the vice, the calm and the storm. But in this narrative, it seems like all things seem to be connected. They're circular, like the snake Ouroboros eating its own tail. Doing the right thing just for the sake of doing the right thing is in itself something beautiful. But knowing that the powerful, vengeful elites can hurt you for it is also very daunting. Knowing that we have the ability to uplift the downtrodden and liberate the oppressed, to rectify right from wrong, this is our incredibly wholesome and fulfilling potential. Conversely, though, knowing that the powers that be have the ability to dissuade us and suppress us and punish us can be intimidating to the point of terror, often leading to inaction. The cycle of constantly being faced with tough choices is enough to wear any person down, and so much of the time, the right thing to do is not the easy thing to do. And yet we persist. Even more, we resist. We can find silver linings in every cloud and little lights hiding under every bushel. I believe that we all benefit together when we heed the call to let our light shine. When we pass our torches to one another, we push back the shadows of despair. When we stoke the forges and kilns and the ovens and stoves, we light the cold winter that makes us stiff and impotent. Prometheus didn't just give us a physical fire. He granted us godly power. We don't just have the ability to survive, rather we have the ability to truly thrive. We have been blessed with the rare chance in this life to transcend mere struggle and embody the radiance of grace. But again, I have to ask, what does it mean to be Promethean? To get a sense of Promethean-style archetypes outside of this particular story, we can also turn to other similar characters in literature. Stories like Robin Hood or Frankenstein portray figures who go beyond the legal realm or the scientific realm, respectively, in order to protect life. Other religious figures like the Norse Odin and the Hindu Agni revere the symbol of fire and made great sacrifices for humanity. The author Malcolm Gladwell writes about the book of Samuel in the Bible. The reason King Saul is skeptical of David's chances is that David is small and Goliath is large. Saul thinks of power in terms of physical might. He doesn't appreciate that power can come in other forms as well, in breaking rules, in substituting speed and surprise for strength. And in the New Testament, Jesus Christ knowingly gets betrayed and crucified for his commitment to humanity. Earlier in his story, at the Sermon on the Mount, he preaches the Beatitudes, which includes, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for their righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." To arrive at another level of a practical meaning, we can consider the old adage that life often imitates art more than art imitates life. In our own non-fictional world, we can quite literally learn from the many brave souls of Promethean stature throughout history who have valiantly stood up against injustices of all kinds. Against slavery and segregation, against misogyny and queerphobia, against apartheid and genocide, against colonialism, chauvinism, xenophobia, and the Olympian-sized imperial war machine. And they had no delusions of it being an easy task. Likewise, many of these people did not get recognition for their sacrifices and commitment until much later after their punishment, if ever at all. The Greeks did not worship Prometheus as a worthy god for millennia until one day they did begin using the lighting of the torch as a ceremony to open the Olympics. But like Prometheus, that has never stopped courageous people from doing the hard work when it needs to be done. It was in fact the ritual use of fire by cultures, including the Greeks, which inspired the Austrian-born Unitarian Hans Deutsch to design the chalice that our church uses to this day. He was a refugee from Nazi persecution during the Holocaust, and he drew a flaming cup in a circle to be used on documents for the Unitarian Service Committee. The Reverend Charles Joy described the design. The holy burning in it is a symbol of helpfulness and sacrifice. This symbol forever embodies the act of taking a risk for the greater good, as the Unitarian Church was actively working underground to help Europeans escape the worst circumstances in our living memory. That's what I think of when I see the chalice used on Sunday mornings and at other UU rituals. I am reminded that our fire came from a place of rebellion and a fight for justice. And the least we can do is carry that fire beyond these four walls. I strive to honor and continue the work of brave souls like this, many of whom were martyred for their commitment, and to pass on the torch they passed to us. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, George Jackson, Nelson Mandela, Harvey Milk, Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, Yahya Sinwar, Yasser Arafat, Bhagat Singh, Mohandas Gandhi, just to name a few. And we also have some living Prometheans that we can still look up to today. There's your Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, David McBride, Mumia Abu Jamal, Leonard Peltier, and Asada Shakur. I could go on and on and on and on. But the point is that like them, we can't give up. We must tend to the coal beds of revolutionary optimism and fan the flames of action with the breath of our bellows. The historian Michael Parenti once said about striking and protesting, "We stand out in the rain. We stand on the picket lines and risk our careers, and in many cases, even our physical safety and our lives." Considering that cautions me to remember that we all have unique talents, but we also have limitations which define how we engage with our circumstances. On the other hand, however, I am reassured by the hope that we can all do our best to live like Prometheus and never let a challenge stop us from being benevolent and righteous, even if we have to be a little cunning to get things done. Prometheus believed in our inherent worth and dignity. He fought for our justice and equity. He sought out truth and meaning, no matter the cost. So having all this context and perspective, what does it mean to be Promethean? It is my contention that we must always continue to steal fire. We must always have a deliberate and intentional quest to seek knowledge and moral clarity and then act upon it to the best of our ability. Like an eagle pecking out our liver every day, we must constantly wrestle with what is right and wrong, and then fight to uphold those values as much as we can. Given our skill of anticipating the future based on our understanding of the past, I cannot in good conscience tell anyone that this won't invoke the wrath of some mighty rulers. But at the same time, I also can't encourage anyone to give up just because the mountain seems high or the river looks wide. We have an unfathomable amount of energy as a species and a society, and we can burn all the paper tigers if we just make sure to not let the flame fully extinguish. It can be very difficult to do what we need to do for our shared community, but it can also be profoundly impactful to overcome darkness and spread light to the world. I want to leave you with the last testimony of a young German girl named Sophie Scholl, because sometimes it can be the hardest to know right from wrong when you're young. But also the young and young of heart tend to show an immense aptitude of actually doing what is right when they believe they know what is right. Sophie lived under the Nazi regime, and she was only 21 when she was convicted of high treason for distributing anti-war leaflets at the University of Munich. Before she was executed by guillotine, some of her final words included, "Such a fine sunny day, and I have to go, but what does my death matter if through us thousands of people are awakened and stirred to action? God, my refuge unto the sun still shines. I am now, as before, of the opinion that I did the best that I could for my nation. I therefore do not regret my conduct and will bear the consequences that will result from it. Life is always on the edge of death. Narrow streets lead to the same place as wide avenues, and a little candle burns itself out just as a flaming torch does. I choose my own way to burn." Thank you.
Is the fire going out? Not in your belly, for you are still alive, but in your soul, that place where dreams fuel commitment, where longings shape action, where meaning flames purpose, where passion ignites and rekindles your life fire. If your soul smolders, dream on till you flame like a chalice of hope. We thank you for being here with us today. There is a Christmas Eve gathering, December 24th, here from 6 to 7 p.m. with caroling. You are invited. The special annual Pancakes and Jam service is on December 29th. You are invited to that too. But keep in mind, it is not a traditional service. Instead, the Macho group cooks a pancake breakfast for all to enjoy, starting at 10:30. Just show up and enjoy. And if you want to show up in your holiday jammies, that is all the better. Then musicians and poets of all ages and levels perform, starting at 11. The music is a casual setting, and anyone is welcomed to apply to perform. You would contact Pancakes and Jam at hvuuc.org to sign up to perform. And you can learn more about the many opportunities for fellowship, justice work, and working together, stoking that fire, by visiting our website, hvuuc.org, and checking out our news and events section.
Our closing hymn for this month is This Little Light of Mine, number 118 in the Thick Gray Hymnal.
The UU minister, Reverend Sean Parker Dennison, reminds us with this prayer, we need both the burning and the light. Spirit of justice, help us be courageous and committed in these times. Let us transform our ideals into action, our words into deeds. Let the fire of our passion burn with both light and warmth. In our anger, help us embody the spirit of creative destruction, always making room for more justice, more compassion, more love. May it be so. May we be the ones that make it so. Amen.
There's a bright and a sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strive, the sunny side you also may view. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny